Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Binary Life, a channel that teaches new developers how to code by solving algorithm problems so that you can see their life solution. Today we'll solve the Euler project, problem number 6, which is about the sum square difference. So the sum of squares of the first 10 numbers is this. So 1 square, 2 square, 3 square, up to 10. And here the square of sum of the first 10 numbers is this. So we add all the numbers up to 10 and then we square. Now what is the difference between them? This minus this gives 2640. Now find the same difference for the first 100 numbers. We'll break it down into two small functions that will be easier to solve. So let's take this first part, the sum of squares. So I'm going to create, I've created a file called let me close everything. Okay, I've created a file called Euler6.js. So I'll first create a function, sum of squares, and I'm going to put in the limit so that it will be used for the 100 case scenario. So which means we start from 1 up to the limit and we square everything. So I have a for loop that starts at 1 and ends at the limit. The limit is inclusive, that's up to 10. So it's less than or equal to the limit. And what do? I square everything and add. So I'm going to create a sum variable somewhere here, which is 0. So inside that sum I will be adding every number. Let me just call this I the number here. Instead of I is the number. So I'm going to take every number and square it. This is how we do the square in JavaScript. And square and add inside the sum. At the end of the day, I'll return the sum. So I'm going to write another function for the second part, which will be about the same thing with a small difference. Instead of sum of squares, I call this one the square of sum. So something like this. Square of sum. So what's the difference? Instead of adding the square here, I add the number itself. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I instead return the square of sum, like the name of the function. So the sum to the power 2. And let's see the difference. So the difference, I'll do something like the sum of square minus the square of sum, the square of sum minus the sum of squares, something like that, is equal to, I'm going to pass in our parameter. So let's call this one for 10. That's not how we concatenate. We can, since I put the backticks, we can actually concatenate inside here like this. Minus sum of square of 10, something like that. So I'm inside the Euler project here on my terminal below. and I can list the files. I have the Euler 6 that I want to execute right now, so I'm going to execute it with the Node.js program. Euler 6, it just literally printed, but I need to get the value instead, so I forgot to put the curly braces here. And but it's easier to just do it the simplest way possible, so I'm going to remove this and put in a variable. Let me just call it difference. It's something like this. Something like this, and then inside here I'll put the difference. So I think there's a dollar sign, that's what I was missing. So let's just go back behind. Just to be able to concatenate properly, so I'll put the dollar sign here. Right, that's what I was missing. And let's re-execute the file. So the sum is 2640. This is what we have here, so we can re-execute it for the 100 case. So I will call it, instead of 10 I'll put 100. And what do we have? Re-execute the file. This is the answer for 100 here. I can just say for 10. This is just for printing purposes, but we're done with the exercise, and this is for 100. And let's re-execute. I can clear the console, and we run the file, and this is what we have. Right, thanks for viewing, and see you in another video for another coding challenge.